welcome to Shag Talk. I'm Abby Morris, President of Inclusivity and Diversity, and I'm here with...
And I'm Craig Moody. I'm here from Yorkshire Nesmac, the local sexual health charity in Hull, and I'm the specialist worker for LGBT people and men who have sex with men.
Amazing. So we're just here today we're going to talk about sexual health in the LGBT community and everything to do with that. So what would you say your specific role is? So you work with the LGBT community and men who have sex with men, but what does that kind of entail?
So the service that we offer is very much of an out-based service with a very community development approach. So a big part of what we do as a whole service is, instead of sort of expecting people just to come to our service to access testing, condoms, things like that, we do a lot of outreach. So in my job specifically, I'm going into gay bars, I'm going into male-only saunas, into sex environments, things like that. Basically wherever the LGBT community and men who have sex with men are going, to talk about sexual health, to give information, to promote getting regularly tested, to give out condoms, advice, everything like that really.
Sounds really interesting.
It's super interesting, and I quite love the fact that it is such an outreach-based thing as well, because being sat in one place all the time can get quite boring. And by going out and meeting different people, people who probably wouldn't come and access the service themselves manage to get that service, but you're meeting so many new people as well, and different people, and because you're in different settings, it makes it a bit more fun and a bit more interesting as well. Yeah,
definitely. Oh, it sounds great. Okay, so what would you say is kind of like the difference between like sexual health and LGBT sexual health? Like, are there different things to be aware of, or?
Absolutely. So in terms of LGBT people, and more so men who have sex with men, men who have sex with men share more of the burden when it comes to sexual ill health and STI transmission rates. Certainly things like HIV, syphilis, chlamydia and gonorrhea. When we look at sort of how many people are getting STIs and then work out sort of percentages of what the population is that are gay, bisexual and other men who have sex with men in terms of the rest of the population, there's a lot more of a burden there on sexual health within the LGBT community.
Why do you think that is?
I think some of it may be because some people in the LGBT community may have more sex than the heterosexual community do, and that's obviously not everybody.
As in with like different partners?
In with different partners potentially, yeah. And especially when it comes to anal sex, there's more of a risk there of STIs being passed on if condoms aren't being used, because the anus itself is very delicate. It's not made to stretch in the same way that a vagina is, for example, and it's also more prone to tearing, which means that it's a lot easier for STIs to work their way into the bloodstream than it necessarily is through vaginal sex.
Okay. I feel like with LGBT sexual health, there's quite a lot of stigmas. So how would you say like people could either break those stigmas, overcome the stigmas, things like that? Because I worry that puts people off quite a lot, maybe going and getting support and getting tested. So what would you say about that?
I think some of the big stigmas is the attitudes that there have been historically towards LGBT people when accessing health services, especially if it's somebody who is talking about having multiple casual sexual partners. I've heard quite a lot from people that in health services that felt very judged.
I've heard that as well, actually.
And I think it can be quite a vulnerable moment going and talking about your sex life and who you're having sex with for some people. You know, there are some people who it's great, they're really confident talking about that stuff, but there are a lot of people who find it really difficult to discuss. So if you then feel like you're being judged by somebody, or even that they've just not necessarily got that knowledge of sort of your community, then that can be quite off-putting in terms of accessing those services. And we all know that bad news travels so much faster than good news. So people often hear the bad experiences that people have had and not necessarily the good experiences. And I think that can negatively impact on people accessing services as well.
Yeah, definitely. So how would someone go and get tested if they felt confident enough to?
So we're really lucky in Hull in terms of the offers that we've got for testing. We've got a really good sexual health model in Hull that's quite different to a lot of other cities. And there's the GUM clinic Conifer, which is in the Wilberforce Health Centre in the city centre, and they run an LGBT specific clinic, which is on a Thursday evening from 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock. So if somebody's feeling a little bit worried about going to a sexual health service and maybe worrying about they might get that judgment, or the people might not understand the sex that I'm having, or I might have to explain everything to somebody, then there's a bit more of that comfort there knowing that it's an LGBT specific drop-in.
Yeah.
So the staff there are well versed and well knowledged in the LGBT community, and there's more specific needs that we may have. And there's also our services at Yorkshire Mesmac, so people can book online to get tested with us. They can also ring us up if they can't see if there's any appointments available, and we'll look at booking them in. And then also accessing the many of our drop-in testing sessions within the city, whether that's here at the university on Wednesdays between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, or whether that's when I'm doing testing in the male-only saunas. And even if it's somebody's accessing another service and they're wanting to get tested but they're not really feeling confident in going somewhere else to get tested, services can give us a call and say, we've got this person that needs a test. Is there any chance you could come do it here for them where they feel a bit more comfortable?
Yeah.
And we absolutely do that.
That's really good, actually, how like accommodating you are for people, making everyone feel very comfortable.
Yeah, well, we understand that it can be a very difficult thing for people to do.
Yeah.
So we want to do whatever we physically can to make it the most comfortable as possible for that person.
Yeah, good. What about the HPV vaccinations? Do you as Mesmac provide that?
So at Mesmac, we don't provide the HPV vaccines. That's Conifer, the GUM clinic. And
do you think maybe you could explain quickly what they are? And who that's for?
absolutely. So the HPV vaccine protects against things like genital warts. It protects against some cancers like anal cancers, throat cancers, penile cancers, which men who have sex with men are statistically more likely to get. And the HPV vaccine program has been running for a long time in young women. So it's been getting done in schools
Yeah,
with
I remember
young
getting
girls.
it.
And for years, they've not thought about vaccinating young boys because they thought to be benefiting from what's called herd immunity. So because HPV is sexually transmitted, if girls are vaccinated, then the people who make those decisions think, well, boys aren't going to get it because they're having sex with girls.
Yeah.
But obviously, as we're getting into more of a well-aware society, especially in terms of legislation and stuff, they've realised, actually, men who are having sex with men and not having sex with women are not benefiting from that immunity. So the HPV vaccination program's been opened up for men who have sex with men who are aged 45 and under. It's 3 vaccines over the course of about 6 months. So somebody will get 1 vaccine, they'll go later for another vaccine, and then after 6 months they'll go back for another vaccine as well, and then the program's completed. They are finally opening it up for young boys as well as of the next school year, so everybody in school should be able to get it, which is fantastic. But there's a lot of push to get men who have sex with men who are vaccinated, especially because they're now not going to get it in schools because they're not in school and at that age anymore.
Yeah. That's brilliant, though, that they're opening it up to everyone.
Absolutely, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. What about, how come the age range is 45 and under then? What about the people that are older?
So the reason behind the age range is because it's thought that by the time somebody reaches the age of 45, they're more than likely of going to have been exposed to HPV anyway.
Okay.
There's not necessarily any negative health effects if somebody was to get that vaccine over the age of 45. It's just that they're expected to already have been exposed to it. So whoever's made those decisions have decided to have that age there.
Well, I can kind of see it, yeah. I guess it's very important to get the younger ones.
Absolutely, and especially hopefully getting people before they've been exposed to the virus. Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely. I think that about covers everything, unless there's anything else you wanted to say.
I mean, there's a few more things I want to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
First off, in terms of, there's a drug called PrEP. That's becoming a lot more known about at the moment, but still not completely known about. So what PrEP is it's a daily medication that people can take, or they might take it what's called event-based, which I'd say, come in and speak to Mesmac if you want more information about that, because it's far too much information to go through on this one podcast. But there's a trial currently being run by the NHS where people can access PrEP free of charge. What that drug does, if taken properly and as advised, is it's really effective at stopping people from getting HIV, even if they're not using condoms when having sex. Over 99% effective. And while the trial is at the moment full in Hull, they are constantly pushing to try and get more spaces. So I'd say if it's something that you're interested in, pop and see the health advisor at Conifer. She's called Karen. She's absolutely lovely. And she can put people on a waiting list if they are eligible for the trial.
Is that anyone, or is that just the LGBT?
It's not anyone. So to be eligible for the trial, the majority of the spaces that are given to men who have sex with men, and especially men who have sex with men who are having condomless sex. There are also spaces for people that are in that category, especially maybe people who are from higher risk countries such as Sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, things like that. People who may sell or trade sex, and more general populations that might be at risk of HIV as well, especially if somebody is in a relationship, their partner has HIV and they're not yet what's called undetectable, which means their medication is working and they're not able to pass on HIV. But if somebody's not got to that point yet, then PrEP can be a really good prevention tool for them as well, especially in terms of making you worry a bit less about sex.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's one of the big things that I've seen when I've spoken to people that are on PrEP is it's taken away that anxiety of potentially contracting HIV when having sex. And I think especially within sort of the LGBT community and the MSM community, because it's a message that we're being given so much since the 80s when the HIV and AIDS epidemic started. And whenever sex has been discussed, it's one of those big messages that's always put out there is HIV, this community is most at risk of HIV in this country. And while it's absolutely understandable that those messages are being put out there and they need to be put out there, it's giving people a lot of anxiety when it comes to sex sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think it really scares people, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the fact that we have this amazing drug that is really effective at preventing HIV is fantastic, because not only does it have that added benefit of giving people that sort of emotional reassurance, but also just in terms of if somebody was to get HIV, you know, the fact that that does have lifelong consequences. You know, it's not something we can cure at the moment, and it's a massive burden on health services in terms of the cost of HIV medication, whereas having somebody on PrEP is so much cheaper. A couple of other things I want to mention as well, because I know that I'm rambling on a little bit and taking up all of the time, is we've got Shag Week coming up next week here at the university, which is Sexual Health Advice and Guidance Week. Sexual Health Awareness and Guidance Week. And that's running from Tuesday the 12th until Friday the 15th of November. We'll be here most of those days offering chlamydia and gonorrhea testing, and we'll also be doing HIV testing on the Wednesday as well.
Yeah, we are doing the usual competition here at Hull University Union. So if you go and get tested and you're part of a club or society, we'll have a big leaderboard with your club name and tallies about who gets the most. And this year we'll be having 2 prizes rather than just the standard percentage. So we'll have one for the highest percentage, of your club that have been tested, and one for the most people. So make sure you go and do that, because the prizes are pretty good this year.
Yeah. Not just about looking after your sexual health, but getting prizes helps as well.
For your whole team as well. It's not just one prize for you. So.
And we've also got National HIV Testing Week coming up as well, which is a week where we massively push HIV testing, push awareness of why people should be getting tested, how often they should be getting tested, and we really ramp up the opportunities for people to get tested as well. So we've got a lot of testing that we're doing. You know, check us out on social media, check out our website, www.mesmac.co.uk, to find out when all of those are going to be, or give us a ring. And we'll certainly be publishing it all over our Mesmac Facebook, all over our Mesmac Twitter. We have a specific Hull Twitter as well. And that week is the 16th until the 22nd of November.
I will put all this information when we do this video.
I'll make sure I send everything over to you.
And it'll be spread out.
And as well, for people that sort of sometimes get worried about getting HIV tested because it takes a couple of weeks to get the results, with the test that we do, it's an instant result test, so people will get their result then and there.
Fab. All right, well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to our Shag Talk.